Ladies and gentlemen, bronchopulmonary dysplasia, or BPD, continues to be the most important pulmonary complication in preterm infants following oxygen or ventilatory therapy. Although the pathogenesis of BPD is not completely clear, but inflammation may play the central role for the pathogenesis. Glucocorticoid, in particular, the systemic dexamethasone therapy, has been shown perhaps the most effective therapy for the prevention and treatment of BPD. However, because of the long-term side effect, systemic steroid therapy cannot be routinely recommended. Inhaled steroid therapy is technically difficult, and the effects are limited. The long-term use of inhaled steroid may associate with higher incidence of infection and perhaps also higher immediate and long-term mortality. Therefore, it is important to find a therapeutic method that can reduce the systemic side effect of glucocorticoid while at the same time maintaining local anti-inflammatory effect on the lungs. This study is supported in part from the National Health Research Institute in Taiwan, as well as from the Casey Pharmaceutical, Italy. The main hypothesis of this study is if we can use surfactant as an effective vehicle to facilitate the delivery of steroid into the lung. Following intratracheal administration of surfactant, there are a couple of factors that may affect the migration of surfactant to the lung. The volume of surfactant, the injection rate, the gravity and orientation, the ventilation strategies, the status of viral recruitment and viscosity. All these factors may affect the migration of surfactant in the airway. However, the most important factor that may affect the migration of surfactant to the lung periphery is probably the surface tension difference between the fluid instilled and the alveolar fluid. This migration of surfactant is based essentially on a simple physical phenomenon, the so-called Marangoni effect. The Marangoni effect implies that in the junction between the low and high surface tension interface, there is a convection force created by the surface tension gradient. This convection force would therefore facilitate the movement of interface to the higher surface tension side. This effect can be explained by this slide. In the junction between high surface tension, between the water, which has a high surface tension, and the soap, which has a lower surface tension, a surface tension gradient is created, and this force will go to the high surface tension side. This convection force can therefore be used as a vehicle to facilitate the delivery of any medication, such as a steroid, to the lung periphery. The effect can be demonstrated in people in the rat. In the upper panel, we intratracheal instillation of budesonide alone. This budesonide is isotope labeled budesonide. We use F18 to label the budesonide. The second panel is budesonide plus surfactant. And this, we use a PET scan to measure the radioactivity. The horizontal line is the time after intratracheal injection. As you can see, injection of the isotope level budesonide alone, majority of the budesonide will remain in the upper airway, and you don't see much actually at 15, 30 to 60 minutes. On the other hand, if you inject isotope level budesonide plus surfactant, substantial amount of budesonide will identify up to 60 minutes and remain in the lower airway. Using the PET scan to measure the radioactivity, this is the one with budesonide plus surfactant. This is the one with budesonide alone, and this is the time after injection. You can see very clearly that when you inject budesonide with surfactant, there's a higher radioactivity detected, more budesonide detected after injection. Malagoni effect can be also demonstrated in this saline paper boat by injection of a drop of soap or surfactant. There's a rapid movement of the saline boat to the high surface tension side. Now, if we measure the speed of movement of this saline boat using a digital camera that can take about 100 photos per second, the speed of movement will reflect the magnitude or the degree of the Malagoni effect. This table compares the migration speed among different surfactants. Apparently, Curacao has a speed, migrates the fast, has a speed of 11.277 centimeters per second, much faster than SDS. SDS is a surfactant for industry use, and of course, much faster than budesonide, also much faster than Sabanda, which is almost only a quarter of speed as compared with Curacao. Therefore, based on this in vitro study, if you like to use surfactant as a vehicle, Curacao probably is the best choice. They are much faster. Next question is it safe to add budesonide to surfactant? Well, you know that both surfactant and budesonide, they are rather ring in chemical structure. So there's a possibility all these things were kinking in the liquid air interface, therefore might affect the physical, biophysical property of surfactant. Therefore, we use a surfactometer to measure the minimum surface tension, maximum surface tension, and average surface tension with surfactant alone and with surfactant plus various kind of concentration of budesonide. Now, this table shows you the result of the surface tension, minimum, maximum, and average, using different concentration ratio between surfactant, in this case we use Sabanda, and budesonide. As you can see, with the surfactant alone, 12.550 milligram per ml, their average surface tension, minima and maxima, as compared with the 1.25 with 0.25 milligram per ml of surfactant. Apparently, their mean surface tension, no difference at all. This ratio is about 50 to 1. As far as the surfactant and budesonide concentration ratio, more than 50, apparently there's not much difference. with addition of besides doesn't really affect significantly the biophysical properties of surfactant. Next question is, when you put budesonide to surfactant, does it change any chemical stability? Apparently, these two compounds are very stable. We did a HPLC to test for at least 96 hours, various concentration between the surfactant and budesonide. Apparently, no new compound were found. Therefore, we saw that with the ratio surfactant and budesonide more than 50-1, or use a cursor 160-1, more than that, they don't significantly affect the biophysical stability of surfactant as well as their chemical stability. Based on this, we decide the doses of surfactant and budesonide. Now, in the next few slides, I will discuss our previous study. We had two studies. One was published in PTR many years ago, and one published in the Blue Journal. I will briefly finally describe our current multicenter study conducted in Taiwan, supported by Casey. The inclusion criteria for this study published in Blue Journal, we use baby less than 1,500 gram baby who had a severe RDS and require IMV with FiO2 more than 0.5 within 4 hours. In other words, we pick up those more serious, more sick baby, more severe RDS. And we randomize into control, which we give surfactant, and intervention surfactant plus budesonide. We use 100 milligram per kilogram of surfactant plus 0.25 milligram per kilo of budesonide. We use this, but this is not a double blind. It's just a randomized into two groups. And we give maximum. We give until the baby can be weaned from respirator or their oxygen requirement less than 30% oxygen. And based on 40% of the improvement and power 80, we need now this paper already published. So if you are interested, you can open the paper and look at in detail. Now this two group of baby apparently no difference in the body weight and their distribution as well as their clinical data, the perinatal data, as well as the incidence of chorioamnionitis and motor delivery. Now, horizontal line is the time after starting the study, week, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks. This is about the maximum. We give not more than 6 doses. Majority of the baby require less than 3 doses. And surfactant we give 100 milligram per kilo. Budesonide 0.25 milligram per kilo. We give every 8 to 12 hours. And most of the significant difference right away can see either of the FiO2, PCO2, as well as oxygen index and mean pressure was seen during the first almost 48 hours. Now, this is a busy slide, but this is day 3, day 7, day 14, 25, and 28. Now, there's a different, in each column, there's a different pattern, including some of the deaths on IMV, on high frequency, etc. But just look at the open column. Open column is a non-assisted therapy. In other words, those open column are the baby who did not receive any assisted ventilation, CPAP, or anything. And as the time goes on, you can see in the intervention and control group, as the time goes from day 3, day 7, up to 28, the open column become bigger in the intervention group. The upper panel show the chance of activation with time. Apparently not much different in terms of the chance to be activated, but when you look at the chance to win into room air from 0 to 28 days, yes, in the intervention group, the chance to be win to room air is much, much significantly higher than the control group. Now, this is the end result, including BPD or death, and there's no difference in the mortality, but the BPD as well as the BPD or death was much lower in the intervention group as compared with the control with the p-value less than 0.01. When you look the degree of mild, moderate, severe, most of them are actually severe. There's more difference. We also have a chance to look at the trachea aspirate to look for the inflammatory cytokine during the within 12 hours, 24 hours, 3 to 5 days, and 7 to 8 days for IL-1, IL-6, and IL. Interesting. For IL-1, IL-8, and IL-6 and IL, most of them, they're very significant, lower of the IL-1, IL-6, and IL in the intervention group. But after 12 hours, 24 to 48, no difference between the group in IL-1 and IL-6. But IL-8 continue to be much, much lower up to 1 week in the intervention group as compared with control. So there's a possibility that this suppression of the lung inflammation can be last for a couple of days, sometimes even to 1 week. And you look at the doses of requirement during the study. In the treatment group, the average is about 1.27. In the control group, 1.68. This is significant. You look separate into 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, 4 dose, 6, more than 4 doses of Sabanda. In the treatment group, majority of them require only 1 or 2 doses. But in the control group, some of them even require 4 doses or even more than 4 doses. Now, in this particular study, because this study was carried out, it's a cooperation study between the United States and in Taiwan, in Chicago, Cook County Children's Hospital. And we follow all these babies. But as you know, in Chicago area, patients in Cook County Hospital sometimes very difficult to find out them in the follow-up. But in Taiwan, we can follow up to 90–95% of population. This is based on about 80% of population follow. Apparently, no difference in the neurological and neuromotor function, as well as the MDI and PDI, no difference between the group. But I just remind you, most of these babies require only budesonide 1 or 2 doses, which is about 0.25 to 0.5 milligram per kilo per day. Very few of them require 3 doses. And there's another follow-up study in our pilot study, which was done in Taiwan about 10 years ago. Much smaller number of studies, but we can follow up to 92%. Apparently no difference. In fact, if you look at those MDI below 69, actually it's lower a little bit lower in the budesonide treatment group as compared with control. For PDI also, for those who are less than 69, 28% in the intervention group, seems a little high, but this is not, number is so small, so actually it's not statistically significant. We have a chance to do the pharmacokinetic. This is very important. I know for any inhaled therapy or like in our therapy with budesonide and surfactant to get the instilled in there, we measure the pharmacokinetic. This is the hour we measure in the first 8 hours following 1 instilled injection of budesonide and surfactant. This one, square one, represents one of the metabolites, 16 alpha hydroxyperoxidase, and this is budesonide level in the serum. if we calculate the area under the curve, and we know how much we inject intratracheal instillation, we found in the first 8 hours, almost 90% of the prednisone remain in the lung. And later, various studies indicate that surfactant actually can increase the solubility of prednisone. But prednisone is not metabolized in the lung at all. But they did conjugate with fatty acid. But they can deconjugate again. So the free form of prednisone will stay in the lung for a long time and initiate their anti-suppression effect. Once it's absorbed into the circulation, the half-life is very short because prednisone is very rapidly metabolized in the liver. We measured the half-life. It's only 4.5 hours. Now, you know, I'm sure most of the neonatologists know that in premature baby, most of the medication half-life always 20, 30 hours. But prednisone, once absorbed in the circulation, they are rapidly metabolized in the liver. The half-life is only 4.3 hours. And their metabolite essentially is 16-hour prednisone. This metabolite has very low glucocorticoid effect. And this is perfect because all the prednisone, free-form prednisone, will remain in the lung for a long time. Once absorbed, it metabolized right away to prednisone. So apparently, problem, that's why we don't see a serious side effect at all. A similar study was done in animal by Dr. Barak in UCSF group. They use animal model and inject the semaglutide 0.25 milligram per kilo. Very rarely they can identify prednisone in the brain. Okay? So this is our conclusion for the pharmacokinetic. The peak plasma concentration at about 30 minutes, and the peak 16 at about 2 hours. The terminal half-life is only 0.13 hours. The area under the curve from 0 to 8 hours was this, and this is only consists about 5%. In other words, most of the, about 90, perhaps even higher, of the prednisone will stay in the lung, and they conjugate with fatty acid, and they can deconjugate again, release the free form of prednisone and stay in the lung for a long time to initiate anti-suppression effect. And we measure also the cortisol level in the control group as well as the intervention. Apparently no difference at all. Therefore, suggests that this kind of prednisone dose actually they don't suppress the cortisol at all. So in summary, premature infant with severe RDS, intratracheal administration of prednisone surfactant as compared with surfactant alone significantly suppress the lung inflammation, decrease the incidence of BPD or death without immediate and long-term adverse effect. Now, there's certain limitation of this study. One is this is randomized, not strictly double-blind. Second, intervention group received 5 ml per kilo. Control group received 4 ml per kilo. This is about 100 milligrams per kilo of surfactant. And this was 1 cc of normal said 5 cc. The amount is a little bit different. And also, this study was done in Taiwan as well as in Chicago. There's perhaps some imbalance of the population. And sample size, of course, is small. So now I'd like to briefly describe a new study currently undertaken in Taiwan and supported from KC. We have 6 medical centers in Taiwan join this study. And the difference between this study and previous study is one, birth rate is the same, less than 15. But the second criteria is severe respiratory distress require intubation and resuscitation at birth. Number 3, we fix more current therapy modality therapy in RDS. Number 3 is those who fail to nasal CPAP or high frequency flow within 4 hours after birth, with defined as any one of the following. If nasal CPAP pressure more than 5 cm water pressure, if they need more than 0.3 FiO2, if there is severe retraction or PCO2 more than 60 mHg or apnea. Well, current therapy, if you see this, usually you might have to intubate the baby. So this is the current study, the criteria is probably more feasible to the current therapeutic modality in neonatal birth room or ICU. Now, we plan to have 240 cases. We plan to do it in about 2.5 years. But this time, we started doing this in Taiwan to avoid the imbalance of population. But this is double-blind. And the intervention group, we give curoside budesonide. Control group, we give curoside placebo. Placebo, we use the normal saline. You know that normal saline is the electrolyte. They don't affect the surface tension at all. And we give in every 8 to 12 hours by maximum 3 doses, unless the infant requires FiO2 less than 30% or extubated. This is double-blind. Very important is the when you look the color between budesonide and normal saline, budesonide a little bit more turbid. Therefore, we have to use a color vial. Also, color vial is very important. Budesonide, you have to avoid the light, sunlight. Therefore, we use this orange color vial, and nobody knows what you see, only the number. Now, I'd like to tell you briefly. So far, we have 30 cases enrolled in the study, but only 18 of them complete the study. Among these, we have control 8, intervention 10. Interesting, the birth rate was a little bit lower in the intervention group, but not the gestational age, not the APGAR score, not the instance of the chorioamnionitis, prenatal steroid, and severity of RDA shortly after birth. Now, this is the, I'm happy to see because based on 18 babies, there are 2 babies died in the intervention group, but their body weight is 510 and 550. But in the control group, 1 died. Apparently, of course, there's no difference between the group in mortality. But when you look at the BPD case, BPD here, or we just BPD here, 5 babies in the control group, 1 baby in the intervention group had a BPD. This BPD was defined by NICHD by looking at age of 28% that require more than room air therapy. And you put this endpoint, BPD or death, 6/8 in the control group, and 3/10 in the intervention. You look at this, let's see. The average weight, I will show you, is very low actually. It's 7,838, and this is 7. So most of the baby are below 1,000 grams actually. Well, above 1,000 grams, most of the baby after CPAP, after non-high-flow, they don't need anything. Therefore, you are not included. Okay. And you look at BPD are much lower in the intervention group. Among the survivor, BPD also much lower. And there is no difference between 2 groups. Well, in the doses, actually, in the control group, 3 of them require 2 doses. But in the intervention group, majority only require 1 dose. This time we use a curoside, 200 milligrams for the first dose, 100 milligrams for the second dose, and 100 milligrams for the third dose in 8 to 12 interval, 12-hour interval. There's no difference in IVH infection and electrolyte imbalance. So I have to make this summary. The intervention group was relatively lower in birth rate and gestational age than the control group, yet the incidence of BPD and the deaths among the survivors tend to be lower. Intervention group than in the control group. The 2 infants in the intervention group at birth rate were one 550 and the other one is the 550. In the control group, 601. There was no apparent immediate side effect associated with this therapy. Budesonide max 0.25 milligram to 5 milligram per kilo maximum is only about 2 doses. Therefore, this actually the result is opened by our data safety monitoring board, controlled by the statistician. We just tell them what the clinical finding, our clinical diagnosis, and they open the code, and they found that so that this study can therefore be continued. It might take another 1.5 years, 2 years before we do all the complete study. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Yeh, for this great presentation. We have time for one short question from the audience. If not, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
We are using 1 dose of 2.5 budesonide. Do we actually know what is the right dose? Is there any dose finding studies done?
Well, I tell you, I choose 0.25 for each dose, 0.25. The reason of this, if you look at the pharmacokinetics study by Dr. Barak in UCSF, they have a suggestion that in their pharmacokinetics study in rats, they have suggested that perhaps to 0.5 milligram per kilo, maybe a little bit higher. So I thought 0.25 to 0.5 per day. I think it's okay, in my opinion.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.